Baron here, Mr. Michael J. Crawford, getting my response back to you. Thank you for that video. I enjoyed it, and you brought some good insight into that debate that we're having, and I'd like to respond to it now. So I want to start off this video by clarifying something that I think that will help us have this conversation a little better. Is that the problem of evil is an internal critique of Christianity. It's looking at Christianity as best as the critiquer can possibly do through the lens of the Christian worldview. You know, it's important, especially with the problem of evil, to use Christian definitions of words and to grant Christian concepts like the soul, free will, the eternal soul, by the way, and Christian definitions of God and Christian explanatory reasons for all these different things. So the problem of evil is not a critique from the atheist worldview of the Christian worldview. It's the atheist critiquing the Christian worldview from within the Christian worldview. Basically saying that if you have something that is a being, a maximally great being that is all good and all powerful, you shouldn't have evil. And I'm going to get, at the end of this video, I'm going to rant a little bit about free will, but we'll get there in a minute. So essentially, yeah, I'm trying to work within the Christian framework of what Christians believe. Now, not all Christians believe the same thing, and this is one of the things that I actually really like about you, and this is why I've been watching your videos and subscribing to your channels for at least about a year now, is that you really do, you earn your name, Rational Roundtable. You do take a very honest, level-headed, and rational approach to what you believe about Christianity and what you think is reasonable to believe about Christianity, and I commend you wholeheartedly for that. That's why I'm interested in doing having discussions with you. So, you know, the King Heathen quote and your pastor saying that's all fantastic stuff, and that's part of the reason why I really do enjoy your videos. So you talked a bit about how I was saying that I had come to the belief that God was infinite in his attributes, which I had originally said, because of just sort of my knowledge of Christianity, my upbringing in Christianity, and I think there's also the ontological argument where I draw some of my ideas about the Christian idea of God, as God is the greatest being than that which can be conceived, or whatever it says. I don't know. But so I do consider maybe the word infinite was a poor choice, but maximal is possibly a better word for it. God is maximally powerful. He is maximal in his goodness. He is maximal in his love. He is maximal in his knowing. I don't know if that makes any sense. All right, this brings me to my next point, which I think ultimately we're probably going to have to agree to disagree on this. And I'm sure we're both fine with that. You know, I mean, this is just a fun, friendly debate. But um, you talk about how imagine being sort of, you know, content to the maximal logical possibility and sort of existing in the state of being totally happy. There's nothing lacking in your life. That doesn't mean you can't get bored. And this is where I really do disagree with you. Buddhism as a philosophy, and for those of you that are Buddhist, I'm about to really butcher and oversimplify your belief system here, so forgive me for doing that. But Buddhism as a philosophy, the end goal is to reach nirvana, to reach this state of sort of blissful nothingness, to escape the cosmic cycle of reincarnation. And the way to get at this is that they meditate, right? So they essentially do nothing for long periods of time to sort of attain this level of spiritual enlightenment. And the goal, what Buddha essentially got to was he did this until he reached the point where he sort of annihilated himself. Again, Buddhists who are watching, I'm sorry that I'm way oversimplifying this, but he brought himself to a place of blissful nothingness where he had nothing left to do, and the place of existence that he brought himself to, he wouldn't be capable of doing anything. Sort of existed in this infinite, I don't know, sort of drug-like euphoria without drugs, and that is the goal of Buddhism, and that to me seems like a coherent explanation of what would happen if you reach a point where you're completely satisfied with everything and you're full of all these positive virtues. So this is why I really don't agree with you. I think that if I got to the point in my life somehow that I was completely satisfied with every aspect of my life and completely happy, there really wouldn't be any room left for me to do anything, because the need to do anything at all, whether it be create a piece of art, have children, is always going to rise from some sort of deficit in characters. As well as I can see it, I can't really see any reason why someone who was completely content would have motivation to do anything, which gets back to my original argument. But again, I think we're going to have to agree to disagree on this, and that's why I see the way I do. Okay, this is going to bring me to my final point, and my final point is going to end in a question, and I'm going to get to that in a minute. But I want to talk a little bit about free will. Now, theists have used free will essentially as a defense against almost every criticism against Christianity, and sometimes I think it works better than others. So, but it seems to me, and I'm curious what your thoughts are on this, that in order for the free will defense to work as an explanation, it requires a sort of radical libertarian free will. That we are essentially able to choose any option that we are physically able to do. I mean, we can't choose to fly, but we can choose to do anything that we are physically able at any moment. Um, I will link a definition of libertarian free will in the sidebar. Now, if we do have this libertarian free will, that would seem to infer that we should be able to choose to live sinless lives, which is something that I think the Bible is very clear that we cannot do. There's original sin. There are dozens and dozens of verses saying that man is sinful by nature, and that strongly infer that human beings cannot not sin. We cannot choose to live a sinless life. Is something that I think resounds very strongly from theism, particularly Christian theism. And I'm curious what your thoughts are on this. If we do have this free will, why didn't God give us the ability to choose not to sin? And if we, I mean, maybe you think we do have that option. I don't know. But if we don't have that option, as I seem to think is biblically justified, does that really mean that we have free will? Or do we have some sort of determined level of perhaps a compatibilist version of free will, which I feel does not adequately solve the problem of evil? If we need to have free will, but our free will is somehow limited, why not just limit it to the point where, I mean, the only real reason that theists say that we really need to have free will is so that we can choose to reject or choose to love God. Why not just limit it to that? So, thank you, Rational Roundtable, for watching my video. Again, I'm curious, what are your thoughts on free will? Why is it entirely necessary for us to have this libertarian free will, if it is or isn't? And does the idea of original sin, or that we are unable to live a sin-free existence, contradict that? Thank you for watching my video.